Okay, welcome in one and all. I am now going to be doing my previews for week 14 of the NFL season. I believe we're almost done. After this week, there's only 4 more weeks to go in the NFL regular season schedule. So, a lot of crucial games for teams trying to push for a playoff position. The Thursday night matchup, as you see, has the New England Patriots, and they're going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. For the Patriots, this has been a lost season. They're coming into this matchup sitting at 2-10, so therefore the word playoffs shouldn't even be in the minds of the players or coaches, respectively, unless every single team in the AFC either ties or loses the remaining schedule, and the Patriots manage to go on like a 7 game winning streak. But let's be real, I don't think that's going to happen. The Steelers coming in this matchup. They are in a playoff position as we speak, sitting at 7-5. And with that, I will give the edge to the Steelers in this matchup. I just believe they are on paper the better team. And yeah, the Patriots have Bill Belichick, and he is probably one of the best coaches in my lifetime. But again, as I've said with him and the whole Brady separation, look how much more success Brady had when he left New England compared to when Belichick had when Brady left. It just goes to show that Belichick needed Brady more than Brady needed Belichick. All right. I feel like I've said that several times on this channel, but I'll say it several more times until the end of time. So, yeah, we'll give the edge to the Steelers. They should be able to get the victory on Thursday night. All right. Heading to the NFC South, which is probably one of the bigger games. It may not seem like that when you look at their team's record, but with playoff implications and the fact that this division is up for grabs, any 3 teams could possibly secure that number 1 spot. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are heading into Atlanta to take on the Falcons. The Bucs are coming in this matchup sitting at 5-5. The Falcons are coming in this matchup sitting at 6-6. And if you want to include the Saints in this discussion, I will get to them as soon as I can. They're also 5-7. So a win for the Buccaneers, and say if the Saints win their game, this could be a 3-way tie for first by the end of Week 14. It is so mind blowing how close this division is, and not just that, but because the NFC wildcard is so weak, even if the Buccaneers happen to lose, the 7th seed, I believe, who are the Packers, they only have 6 wins. So imagine if like the Packers and Bucks lose the respective matchups, the Bucks could still be in contention, only a game behind. Like I said, that 7th seed to get that final wild card spot. So the NFC is completely wide open when it comes to the wild card, and especially with the NFC South being the weakest division in the entire league, anything can happen. And I don't really have a favorite team to be the champions of that division. Like I said, there's still 5 games remaining for all 3 of these teams, so anything can happen on any given Sunday. But I will give the edge to the Falcons in this particular game. All right, off to Baltimore, where we have the host team and the Ravens, and they're taking on the Los Angeles Rams. So, pretty big game for both these teams, respectively. The Rams are coming in this matchup sitting at 6-6, and like I just previously discussed, the Packers have the number 7 seed in that wild card position. They also are 6-6. So this is a huge game for the Rams. If they can possibly pull off an upset and a road victory, it could go a long way in determining where they are seated at these standings by the end of the year. As for the Ravens, speaking of standings, they are atop of the AFC. And the big thing, if you're top of the AFC or NFC respectively, you're guaranteed a first round bye when the wild card games are underway. So if the Ravens can win this one, it'll show how much maybe they can start getting a little separation from the second, third teams respectively, who are atop of their divisions in the AFC. But I will give the edge to Lamar and company. He's been healthy all year, and that's the big thing. The last 2 years, he has not been healthy, and that kind of derailed their season. He goes along. The Ravens go where Lamar goes. Let's just put it that way. And if Lamar is going to take him all the way, they'll be on board and to see how far he can take this team. So I will give the edge to the Ravens in this particular matchup. All right, off to the NFC North, where we have 2 teams who are bitter foes, to say the least. The Chicago Bears are playing host to the Detroit Lions. So for the Detroit Lions, they're having probably one of the most remarkable seasons I've ever seen. Coming into this matchup, sitting at 9-3, while the Chicago Bears are 4 games below 500, sitting at 4-8. I'm going to give the edge to the Lions in this particular matchup. I just believe, like I said, they have proven all year that it's not a fluke that they're 6 games above 500 and they're leading that NFC North division. And a win here can really help them potentially clinch that division title, considering the next team below them are the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers, who only have 6 wins respectively between both those squads. So if the Detroit Lions can get a 4-game lead on those two teams, it could go a long way in securing their first NFC North title ever. All right, our next matchup takes place in Cincinnati, where we have the Bengals, and they are playing host to the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, you should see the team's logos on your screen respectively. Both these teams get a huge win last week. The Indianapolis Colts, I believe they beat the Tennessee Titans, whereas the Cincinnati Bengals got a huge upset victory in Jacksonville, taking down the Jaguars. The Colts are sitting at 7-5. The Bengals are sitting at 6-6, and I'm going to pull off a wild card in this one. I will give the edge to the Bengals in this matchup. They just, even though they don't have their starting quarterback Joe Burrow, this is a team that just seems like they're not going to go down without a fight. And this could easily be a team that takes to like week 16, week 17, week 18 to really see where they're at in the standings. I mean, this is a team that just has that never give up mentality. And that's crucial because a lot of teams, if they lose a superstar, they lose a quarterback, whatever the case may be, is their season just comes completely, goes completely off the tracks. And as for the Colts, yeah, they lost Quentin Richardson, but Gardner Minshew has been playing well enough to help this team succeed and still stay in a wild card position. So as much as I want to give the Colts the edge in this one, I just have a funny feeling the Bengals might be able to pull this one off, especially at home. All right, staying in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'll get those teams' logos up on the screen momentarily. So the Browns are coming in this matchup sitting at 7-5. The Jaguars, despite the loss, they're still atop of the AFC South division, sitting at 8-4. The big thing for the Jaguars is if Trevor Lawrence is not able to play, that's a huge blow for this team. And for the Browns, obviously, they lost Deshaun Watson a few weeks ago. So neither of these teams should be starting their quarterback unless Trevor Lawrence has like a crazy, I don't know, like heel rate. But I honestly don't see that happening. I think I saw a headline just earlier today about how he could potentially be done for the season. If that is the case, then this Jaguars team might not even be able to get a AFC South crown, which is absurd when you think about it. I'm going to give the edge to the Browns in this one. They just have a very good stifling defense, not trying to disrespect Jacksonville's defense, but there's just something about this Browns team that they always seem to be in it, even though if they were starting their third or fourth string respective quarterback. Yeah, so that's what I'll end at that. I will give the edge to the Cleveland Browns to take the victory over the Jaguars. All right, back to the NFC South, where we have the New Orleans Saints, and they're taking on the Carolina Panthers. So I should have the team's logos on the screen as we speak. For the Panthers, a season lost. They're coming into this matchup sitting at 1-11, so obviously there's no such thing as playoffs. I believe they were officially eliminated last week, but they could have been eliminated, honestly, a month ago because of how poorly they've been playing so far. For the Saints, as I discussed earlier with the Buccaneers and the Falcons, this is a crucial game for the Saints. If they want to try and stay in contention in that NFC South, a win here can go a long way. And again, even if the Falcons do happen to win, and as the Saints do, there'll still be a game behind them. But again, that NFC wildcard, just go take a look at the standings. Like I said, a lot of the teams have 6 and 7 wins respectively. So it's not totally a lost season just yet, despite the fact that they are below 500. So I'm going to give the edge to the Saints in this matchup. Our next matchup takes place in New York, where we have the host team in the Jets, and they're taking on the Houston Texans. So a pretty big game for the Texans. They're coming to this matchup sitting at 7-5, whereas the Jets, I feel like if they lose this game, their season's pretty much done. They're 4-8 coming into this matchup. CJ Stroud, I'm going to say it right now, he's going to be the runaway, unanimous when it comes to offense or rookie of the year. And you show me another rookie on another team who has had as big of a season as CJ Stroud has had, and I'd be very amazed. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like I said, this kid is just playing unreal. He's going to have a hell of a career with this Houston Texans team. And I mean, if he's playing this well in his first year, he's just going to get better. I'm going to be honest with you. So with that being said, I am going to give the edge to the Texans in this matchup. They should be able to secure their 8th win of the season. And it's hard to believe that even if they win and say the Colts win, and I believe there's the Browns and Steelers, they could still be in 8th place in the AFC. You imagine having an 8-5 record and you're still on the outskirts of the postseason. So they need the Colts to lose in order for them to take over that 7th seed. So it just goes to show how weak and strong each conference is. Like I said before, in the NFC, some teams have 7-6 wins respectively. Like I said, the Texans could finish this 8 wins and they could still be on the outside of the playoff unless they happen to win and the Jaguars lose. Then they maybe get the top seed in that division. But then the Colts could win. They could get the top seed. There's just so many different factors when it comes to the AFC playoff picture at the end of Week 14. I can't wait to see the results and where the teams stand at the end of the games. All right, off to Nevada, where we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're playing against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are coming into this matchup sitting at 6-6. The Raiders are now 2 games below 500, sitting at 5-7. This is one of those matchups where it's really hard to tell what team has really been more dominant this year over the other team. This is a flip of a coin. I'm just going to give the edge to the Raiders. I just think that there's something about this group that they're very resilient and they easily could get a home victory. I'm not trying to disrespect the Vikings or Josh Dobbs or any of that. Who knows? Maybe the Vikings can come in and pull off a victory over the Raiders. But I just have a hunch. I have a funny feeling that the black and gray are going to pull this one off over the Minnesota Vikings. All right. Off to the NFC West, where we have the San Francisco 49ers, and they're playing host to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have been struggling a little bit, to say the least. They're now out of the playoff picture, despite the fact that they are 6-6. The 49ers got a huge, and I mean a massive win over the Eagles last week. And it just goes to show that anything can happen on any given Sunday. And with this team, they're looking very dominant. And if they can play as well as they did against the Eagles, this is going to be a very dangerous team moving forward. And for the 49ers, too, is that if they happen to win and say the Eagles lose their game, they can move atop of that NFC conference. And like I said when I was talking about the Baltimore Ravens, when you get that number 1 seed, having that extra week off to rest your guys can be a huge bonus. So that's why there's so many teams fight the number 1 spots. Yeah, it's great to win your division, but if you're still 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in your conference, you have to play the wild card, and there's no guarantees that you can get the victory. There have been upsets in the past in wild card matchups. I will give the edge to the 49ers in this matchup. I just believe they are a very dominant team, and I guess if they can play as great against the Seahawks as they did against the Eagles last week, there's no telling how far this team can go. All right. Off to the AFC West, where we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're taking on the Buffalo Bills. So a big game for both of these teams. Obviously, the Chiefs are still trying to stay in that contention to try and catch up to the Ravens. They're only a game behind the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, in that AFC. So if there's a slim chance the Ravens lose to the Rams and the Chiefs win, maybe the Chiefs can get back on top of the AFC. But the fact that they've been playing so poorly lately, it makes me question how dominant this Chief team really is. I mean, they've lost to the Packers, they've lost to the Broncos. They've had a lot of games that they should have won on paper, but again, paper doesn't give the full results at the end of the game. As for the Bills, this season has been up and down. They've had fantastic games. They've had games that they were supposed to win and lose, and they're now coming into this matchup sitting at 6-6. They're on the outskirts of the postseason looking in, and they're now 3 games behind the Dolphins in the AFC East. So good luck catching up to the Dolphins. So pretty much if the Dolphins win and the Bills lose, they'll be 4 games below them. And yeah, the Bills already beat them once already, but if you're 4 games below a team in your division and there's only 4 games left after this week, good luck trying to play catch up and trying to get that AFC East crown for the 3rd year in a row. I believe that's pretty much out of the question. They're just trying to get in to a wild card spot. So I believe this team, the Bills, they're going to come into Arrowhead. They're going to put up a fight because if they go 6-7 after this game, the playoffs are out. And there's going to be so many heads rolling in Buffalo because this team had such a high expectation coming into this season, last year, the year before, that they were supposed to be the team to represent the AFC East, the AFC in the Super Bowl, and they've come up short each and every time. So I'm going to give the edge to the Bills in this match. Like I said, I believe this team's going to. They're just like the Bengals. They're not going to go down, or they shouldn't go down without a fight. And I think that they come into Arrowhead and get a huge road win against the Chiefs. All right, staying in the AFC West, we have the host team Chargers, and they're taking on the Denver Broncos. For the Broncos, they had a crushing loss last week against the Texans, coming in this matchup sitting at 6-6, whereas the Chargers, they were able to win. They are now at 5-7, so now they're just a game apart between both these teams in the AFC West standings. I will give the edge to the Broncos in this matchup. I believe they have no choice but to put all their faith back in Russ, and hopefully he doesn't burn. Hopefully he can just cook, and we'll see if they can get their run game back on. That was the big thing last week with the Texans, is that the Texans had such a great defensive line. It was hard to push the ball forward running it, so therefore you're left with no choice but to throw it X amount of times a game, and obviously that can be very tiresome and can be it can hurt you, and obviously it did with Russ getting picked off 3 times. So I believe Russ should be able to get the Broncos back into the victory. Obviously, a loss here, and obviously if the Chargers win, they would take over that second seed in the AFC West. But a loss here for the Broncos, and you can pretty much write them off for the season, because I don't think, if they lose to the Chargers, I don't see them beating the Lions. And if they have to go into Vegas for a win or lose scenario, I don't really have that much faith in the team, especially since they lost to Vegas in the first week of the season. And yeah, you have the Patriots, but that's the only winnable game I see on their schedule. So a huge road win for the huge road game for the Broncos. Like I said, I believe they should be able to pull this victory off against their AFC West foes. All right, off to the Sunday night matchup, which is probably the biggest game of the week, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. You have the Dallas Cowboys, and they're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. So two teams that are very familiar with each other, two teams that have a very strong hatred for each other, and two teams that are trying to get that NFC East crown. It's hard to believe just a couple weeks ago, it looked like the Eagles were going to run away with this division. They got this in the bag. Now these teams are only a game apart. So if the Cowboys happen to get this victory, they could be atop of the NFC East. And no one in their right mind would have thought that the Cowboys would be this close to catching up to the Eagles. I had a funny feeling that they would get into a wild card position. But again, if they can get this victory over the Eagles, this could go a long way with this to say about this team. So the Eagles are coming to this matchup 10-2 after a crushing loss to the 49ers last week, whereas the Cowboys had a dominant win last week. Big surprise. They are sitting at 9-3. I believe the Eagles are going to get a bounce back game. And like I said, this is a big game for both these teams. It has a lot of implications as to who's going to represent that NFC East and NFC East. I apologized. But yeah, I'll say it right now. I'll give the edge to the Eagles to take the win over the Dallas Cowboys. All right. There are 2 games on Monday. The first one takes place in Florida, where we have the Miami Dolphins, and they're playing against the Tennessee Titans. So the Titans are coming into this matchup sitting at 4-8, while the Dolphins are atop of that AFC East, sitting at 9-3. And as I've always said throughout the season, when the Dolphins play a team that's below 500, 10 times out of 10 they get the victory. So this should be yet another victory for the Dolphins in this matchup. And again, this could go a long way into them securing their first AFC East crown since I want to say like 2008, 2009. So this would be a long time coming for the Dolphins if they can secure this victory, like I said, and move forward and potentially getting their first AFC East crown in quite some time. All right, the other game takes place in New York, where we have the host team and the Giants, and they are taking on the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers got a huge win last week against the Chiefs. They are sitting at 6-6, and as I've said several times, they are now holding these number 7 spot in the wild card position. And as for the Giants, they're coming in this matchup sitting at 4-8. It's been a tough season to say the least. You lose Daniel Jones, and a lot of inconsistency and poor play. And here the Giants are, after making the postseason last year, it's looking like it's going to be back to watching the postseason, whereas instead of participating in it. I'm going to give the edge to the Packers in this one. I just believe that this team has they have a lot of good players, and Jordan Love has been playing a lot better in the last X amount of games compared to the start of the season. So I got a lot of faith in this Packers squad. I just have a funny feeling that even though they lost Rodgers in the offseason, who really won that trade? I mean, look at where the Jets are. Rodgers is out for the rest of the year. Even if he does come back, the Jets, I don't see them making much of a difference in the standings. Whereas the Packers, like I said, they are holding on to that number 7 seed in the AF and the NFC wild card position. So a win here can really solidify them as a playoff contender with only a month left in the season. The two teams that have their bye week are the Arizona Cardinals. They are 3-10, and the Washington Commanders are 4-9. As always, if you like this type of content and you're new to the channel, hit the sub button. What's it gonna hurt? I do videos like this on the daily. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative if that was the case. As always, take care.